Hi everybody, today we are going to talk about graphing using intercepts. Okay, the first thing we need to know is if I give you an equation, find the coordinates of x and y-intercepts. Okay, what are x-intercepts and y-intercepts? Well, there's the definition. Just a quick reminder, anything in red, I expect to see it on your note sheet. Okay, so definition for x-intercept is a point where the graph intersects with x-axis. So in this case, the points that you're going to find is going to be somewhere on here. That's the x-axis. And then y-intercept is a point where a graph intersects with a y-axis. So in this case, you are looking for a point that is on the y-axis. So it will be looking like this, somewhere there. Okay, and that's x. Procedure is going to show you how to do it. To find the x and y intercepts, to find an x-intercept, I usually would say if you are looking for x, looking for x, then the other one has to be 0. So in this case, number one is the first step is to replace y with a 0 in the given equation. If they give you an equation, they are asking you to find x, you're looking for x, so therefore the other letter has to equal 0. And then you solve for x. Okay, that's all. And if you are looking for y, so looking for y, that means what? X equals 0. So right here it is. If you are looking for y or finding a y-intercept, replace x with a 0 in the given equation and then solve for y. Okay, y is going to be a number. Now don't get nervous if y also come out to be 0. It's totally possible, or the other way around. Okay, so let's try an example right now. So example 1, for the equation 5x minus 2y equals 10. This is what I will usually write it. We will write it in this form, x and y. And then I will draw the line. When you're looking for x-intercept, y equals 0. When you're looking for y-intercept, x equals 0. And what does that mean? All right, so y equals 0, that means 5. So that means 5x minus 2y equals 10. And solve it. Now notice I give a lot of space. Just because you're going to scratch it, work in some other place, might as well just make the chart bigger. So some of you guys have not done that in a habit. I used not to do that, but I kind of just go, well, why not? It's kind of reasonable. But then even just in 1 minute, I will show you some other way I would do it. So in this case, that will be 5x equals 10. And divide by 5, x equals 2. So your order pair is really 2, 0. Okay? And then the next one is going to be x equals 0. So if x equals 0, that's going to be 5 times x equals 0. That's x minus 2y equals 10. And then that will be 5 times 0 is 0. So just negative 2y equals 10. And if you divide by negative 2 on both sides, y is just equal to negative 5. And your order pair is going to be 0, negative 5. Okay, so now, then you can plot those points on the graph. Now be careful, it's 2, 0, and 0, negative 5. So right here is 2, 0, x equals 2. That's x. That's y. It's 2, 0, and 0, -5. 0, -5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 0, -5 is down here, right here. And then when you learn from geometry, it takes 2 points to connect a line or a segment, array, or anything like that. Just connect them. And if you just hold down long enough, it will make a straight line for you. So there, roughly. Okay, so that is how you find x-intercept and y-intercept and use those 2 points to graph a line. Now, Ms. Wiesbaum usually would like to see, is there any way I can do less work? Now, if you want to see how I would do it, is I would literally, if I'm looking for x-intercept, I would just cover, because y equals 0, right? Y equals 0, that means this term is gone. So you're really looking at real quick at 5x equals 10. And that's exactly what I have here. And if you are thinking about, I'm solving for y, if I'm solving for y, x equals 0. That means this is gone, and this is gone. Okay, I'm solving for y. That means this guy is gone. So your equation really is just -2y equals 10. I literally will just cover that up, whatever that equal to 0, cover it up and solve the other part. So that make it really fast. That's -5. And that is exactly what I have here. Because that term is gone. So if you can understand that, you can make this process real fast. And tomorrow, let me show you in person how I just cover things up. Hopefully that will work. Okay. So that is example number 1. Is example number 1. I hope you guys have a better view of it. Sorry, I just cut you off there. Okay. Oh, let me write the other one down just so you guys know what I'm talking about. That's just a 5x equals 10. So you can skip at least one step. Example number 2. Now, example number 2, the number is 3x and 4y equals 8. Now, if you guys kind of notice from before, if you look at the problem before, 5 goes into 10. 2 goes into 10. Okay, that means the number is going to come out nice and even. But if you look at the numbers for this question, the numbers right here, 3 does not go into 8. So you will get a fraction. But don't panic, that still is easier sometimes. Okay, so here's the chart. We're doing the chart again. Okay, and this is x, and that's y, and then make it bigger. If you want, you can do the small one, just cover one side like how I show you, and you can literally do it in your head. So when you do that, if you have to solve for x, y equals 0. If you have to solve for y, x equals 0. So now what you're going to do is you're going to say, okay, if y equals 0, that means just 3x equals 8. And divide by 3, divide by 3. X is a over 3. Because why? Y is gone. Alright? And then if you want to add in the other one, x equals 0. So if x equals 0, 3 times x, 3 times 0, is gone. So you literally just have -4y equals 8. And divide by -4 on both sides. y is just equal to -2. And your order pair is going to be a over 3, comma 0. And on the bottom is going to be 0, comma -2. Now, don't panic because you had to graph a over 3. If you need to, take your calculator and punch in the calculator. But if you remember what I said to you about slices of pie, that means that I have 8 slices of pie. Every pie is made of 3 slices. Well, how many pie do I get? Well, 2, Miss Wiesman. And 2 is going to give you 6 slices, so you have 2 left. So it's just 2 and 2/3. So if you want to, you can change this into 2 and 2/3, comma 0, or 2.6 if you use a calculator. I don't care which way you use, okay? So now what you're going to have is x is at 2 and 2/3. So 2 and 2/3 is about like right here. Okay, it's a little bit more than half. And next one is 0, -2. 0, -2 is down here. And graph them. There we go. That is how you graph it. Okay, question. If you do have a question, please jot down on the side and ask me tomorrow. Okay, now let's take a look at example number 3. Example number 3 is a little bit different because example number 3 doesn't look like it have more than one term on one side. So what is that going to look like? So let's try. We put it in the chart. When x equals 0, okay, x equals 0, hey, if x equals 0, that means my y equals 2 over 3 times 0. That is also going to be 0. So that's going to be 0, 0 as the x-intercept and y-intercept. Because if I do y equals 0, x has to be forced to have 0 to make this work. So what would you do? Well, you don't have 2 of them. You just have 1, which is at 0, 0. Now, what happens if I ask you to graph it? Well, it didn't say you have to do it all in x-intercept, y-intercept. So what you're going to do is you can pick another point. So pick a point. Remember we talked about last lessons. Pick a smart point. Since that's a fraction, I'm going to pick a 3. So if I pick x equals 3, that's going to be y equals 2 over 3 times 3. And then 3 times 2 divided by 3, that means this 3 and this 3 can cancel out. That gives you 1. And so that's going to be just 2. So your order pair for that one is going to be 3, comma 2. So now you can graph it again. So because the equation only have one point for the 0, for the x-intercept, y-intercept, we are just going to plot that one point and use another point to find the line. So it's 1, 2, 3, up 2. Now, if I test you guys on that about x-intercept, y-intercept, you can just tell me it's 0, 0. That's all. Any questions? Okay. Moving on to the next thing. Okay. So now what happened here is rule intercepts for y equals mx, which is the equation we just graphed. If an equation can be written in the form y equals mx, that means no other attachment. That means only number in front of x and they are multiplying. Where m is a real number other than 0, then the x-intercept and y-intercept are at the origin 0, 0. That's what we have right here. 0 is 0 is going to be your x-intercept and y-intercept. Example number 4. For the equation y equals 2x plus 1, find the x and y-intercept. So now we're going to chart it again. Looking for x-intercept, y equals 0. Looking for y-intercept, x equals 0. Plug it in. Y equals 2x plus 1. So y is right here, equals 2 times, another way around. Y equals 0 equals 2x plus 1. Then you can solve it, -1, and you have 2x equals -1. And divide by 2, divide by 2. Your x equals -1 over 2. Okay, that is the first one. So the order pair is -1 over 2, comma 0. Then the next one is going to be x equals 0. So y is equal to 2 times 0 plus 1. So y is equal to 1. And the order pair is 0, comma 1. So then now what you're going to do is you're going to plot them. Again, don't worry about the fraction. Just take the 1, -1 and 0, cut in half. So that's -1 right here. So -1 is right here. Then the next point is going to be 0, 1. 0, 1 is right here. So connect them, and you should get an equation. All right. Now, the thing is, you noticed, hey, Miss Wiesman, is that a coincidence that right here, this 1, I also have a 1 here. See that? And I will tell you, the reason for that is because x equals 0, the only number left is 1. So now think about it. X equals 0. Right here, you get the y-intercept. Okay, so in this case, there's little rules on that. And that little rule goes like this. Rule the y-intercept for y equals mx plus b. If an equation is in the y equals mx plus b, where m and b are non-zero real numbers, that's very important because that is going to happen when they actually have a number exist. Then the y-intercept will be 0, comma b. So this number right here as the 1 is your y-intercept if they are in the y, if they are in y equals mx plus b. This is the y-intercept. I hope that is a reminder, or maybe will make your life easier. Let me spell that out. Okay, that's a y-intercept in y equals to mx plus b, and your b is the y-intercept. Okay, I know I'm saying it so many times, but I just hope you don't forget it. But it only can happen if it's y equals a number times x plus another number. M and b could be the same number, but it has to be number. On to example 5. For the equation y equals 3, find x and y-intercept. All right. Now, remember what we talked about in the last video. And I told you guys, if you have y equals 3, that means you get to pick y as 3, 3, 3 all the time. But what can you pick for x? Well, x could be anything. So in this case, if I pick that, x equals 0. But the rest of them, there's no other 0. Y cannot be 0. So therefore, you are just going to have those points to deal with. And when you plot it, you will see those are your order pair, 0, 3, 1, 3, negative 2, 3. And if you plot them, that is going to be 0, 3. That's 1, 3. And that's negative 2, 3. And if you connect your dots, you should notice it will never cross your x-axis. So now for the rules intercept for y equals c, the graph of an equation in the form y equals c, where c is a non-zero real number, has no x-intercept. You guys can see that on the graph. And the y-intercept is 0, c. The graph of y equals 0 is the x-axis. Okay, here let me give you a picture of that. If you're thinking about y equals 0, so y equals 0, that means it crossing right here. Y equals 0 is this line, is the x-axis. It's the x-axis. Y equals 0. See that? Okay, that's y equal crossing the y-axis. Remember, I'm crossing the y as 0. That's what we talked about yesterday. You're crossing the y. Okay, so it gets a little bit confusing there, but think about it that way. Let me do it. Crossing the y as 0. I'm crossing the y as 0 right there. Okay? The next one, it's the same thing, but just in the case of x. Row intercepts for x equals c. The graph of an equation in the form x equals c, where c is a non-zero real number, has no y-intercept, and the x-intercept is c, 0. Okay, so the graph of x equals 0 is the y-intercept. So think about it this as an equation. I didn't give you an example, but here's an example if you guys need it. X equals 5. That means all the number you have on the chart is going to be 5, 5, 5. And this could be 0. So therefore, it could be anything, but if you graph it, x equals 5, 0, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 0, which is right here. And then if you want to, you can use 1, 2, 3, and 5 right here. And you can use negative 2 right here. And so therefore, it crosses the x-axis, not the y-axis. So we have only x-intercept, which is right here, and we have no y-intercept, and that's what that means. Okay, and that is the form right here. 5, 0, same thing is c, 0. And that is x-intercept, y-intercept part of the graphing. Okay, thank you so much for watching.